I'm not just saying this, Tommy, because he went to Duke. But I think the amount of criticism, attention, critique given to you specifically and your shot profile as a young player in this league, I don't quite remember at any point in my career people nitpicking about a 20-year-old it's been going on since your second and third year, that people are constantly nitpicking your shot profile, the shots you take. And I tell people this all the time, but I wasn't this guy, but as a shot creator, what is a good shot and what is a bad shot? When you have the skill set that you have, there's not really a line. It's all the same. It's because of the confidence, the ability, your size, your handle, your step back, all that stuff. It's part of who you are as a player. And we talked about Russ a few weeks ago, and we can sit here and nitpick any player. You can break down any player. There's flaws to everybody. And so with any great player, you're still you want to take the greatness. You want to take the greatness and just live with whatever thing you can nitpick. How much do you actually think about that? Because I can't remember what year it was. I think it was your third year, the beginning of the year. It was like, oh, he's driving more, or he's eliminated the Kobe shots. Like, this was on every single national broadcast. And I know Drew and you watch a ton of film, and do you guys get in the lab in the off season, in season, whatever. So how much of that are you actually thinking about? How much do you pay attention to it? Does it actually affect what you do on the court in a game?
There's a fine line between paying attention to it and letting it affect you. Everybody in the NBA hears everything that somebody says about you. Like, I got Twitter, I got Instagram, I watch TV. Even if I don't see it, people send it to you. Like, I see everything that is said about me, good, bad, or indifferent. And I think the bigger you get, the more attention or critique that you receive. And I think it's part of it. I think the mentality to have is they don't talk about the players that they don't care about, right? So they're saying something good or bad about you. That means you're somewhat doing your job, because if they're, continue to talk about you. The only time I let it affect me, I remember last year when it was in the playoffs, or playoffs might have been over, and everybody was coming out with their AllNBA ballots and podcasts and who they were voting for. And, I had $30 million on the line to make it. Now, I specifically remember one person saying, I'm not a fan of his shot selection, so I just couldn't put him on my All-NBA ballot. And I was baffled. Because if you think about it, if you think about it, the way that it's set up, right, for the All-NBA stuff, and a lot of guys have incentives for making All-NBA, and everyone knows I didn't make it last year. I lost $30 million or whatever. The fact that somebody could have that thought and basically cost someone $30 million, forget about me. Say the next rookie extension guys that come in. I think that has to change. Because there's no criteria set for the media, for the voters, on who they should vote for. It's all opinion based. There's no he should have to play this many games, or they should be in the playoffs, or average this many points. It's all I like this guy a little bit more, or certain things like that. And I think there's just a little too much on the line for that.
Do you think that even the narrative with you, like media, fans, whatever, people got spoiled a little bit because of what we've been talking about, where it's they forget what you did your rookie year a little bit. And so all of a sudden they're expecting, it's oh, they didn't go to the conference finals, so he flopped. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter anything else that happened because you didn't reach a thing that, you know, there's more to do than just you. You can't get to the conference finals by yourself. That because of that, it's like the expectations sort of outgrew what is actually realistic for what, you know, you as a solo person can do.
Oh, I believe that wholeheartedly. Some of the things I see and read is, I think, just beyond me. Like, for instance, last year, I think I averaged like 26, 7, and 4, right? And I'm certain you can't find one person on the media that said I had a monster year, right? We 7th seed, 2 games above 500. It was whatever. Like, I wasn't an MVP candidate or anything like that. But then there are guys like you that would average, I don't know, 19 and 10, and they're at 19, 10, and 4, and then you could go on TV and it's like they are having a monster season. And I'm not talking about a guy like Chris Paul. Like, he's different, right? Like, everyone knows what he brings to the table, and it doesn't always show up on the statistics.
In the counting stats, correct. Yep.
But it's like, sometimes I think back and I like talk to my mom at home. I'm like, Mom, I would probably have to average 30, and we'd have to be a top 2 seed for anybody to go on TV to say he's having a monster year. And I think that's part of the, you know, they're just, I guess, used to it.
Well, I think you mentioned feeling spoiled, you know, a sense of being spoiled early in your career because of the 2 conference finals in the first 3 years. And I think as fans and probably the media, like, we got spoiled because of how good you were right away. That's probably true. And I think to Tommy's point, I do think the narrative around this certainly matters when we talk about AllNBA, when we talk about most improved player, coach of the year. You're not necessarily comparing apples to apples. You really are. It's the story around a player, the story around a team, like, all of that matters when we get to the end of the year. I guess my issue and sort of my cosign to your point about it having to change is when a player like Jayson signs his max rookie extension at the end of his 3rd year and has some incentive tied to it. You can't tell me that Jayson didn't do his job in his 4th year. You did exactly what you were supposed to, and it being tied to someone's opinion of what your job was, I agree with you. I think something's got to change. Obviously, you guys get more money. You know, it's like that's you now. There's a rookie super max. So it used to be you just sign a max contract as a rookie. Now you all have a chance to sign a super max rookie extension. But I do think I feel for you in the sense that you can't tell me that you didn't reach or exceed expectations in your 4th year based on that contract, and you should have been rewarded justly.
Yeah, I think, and this is like honestly the first time I've really had a chance to talk about it. There's so much that bothered me with that whole situation, right? I think the narrative was Jayson didn't make All-NBA, he loses $30 million, right? And from that headline, nobody's gonna feel bad for me. Like, I still got $175 million. Like, nobody's gonna feel bad, and I don't want anybody to feel bad about the money part. Like, my lifestyle hasn't changed. It's not about that. I think just as the results came out and I looked at how people voted, you know, what went into the media members, their process of voting, that was the frustrating part. The opinion of somebody or not holding the same, like holding one person accountable to the other, and like the votes kind of were wrong. I got 20 votes as a guard, where if they would have put all my votes as a forward, I would have beat out some of the forwards. And I had more votes. I
didn't even realize that.
I had more votes.
You're not a guard, by the way.
I had more votes than Kai, but he made the third team All-NBA as a guard. because he had more votes as a guard than me. But if you tally up our votes, I had more than he did. It's just so much gray area, right? Like, I missed 7 games last year. 5 of them were because of COVID. One was the last game of the season because we already clinched the 7th spot, right? We made the playoffs. I scored 50 4 or 5 times last year. Like you said, I did my part. I was more frustrated that a group of people came together and thought that 15 people had a better season than me last year. I was more like upset about not making it. Money aside,
right? The recognition, we talk about validation all the time. We talked about with CP recently. The validation, right?
Yeah.
It's a stamp. It's a stamp of approval to make All-NBA. I get it. I get it. And the frustration's there. And to your point, look, this could happen this year with DeMar, with Jimmy. How are we voting on them? Is DeMar a guard? Is he a 3?
Exactly.
Is Jimmy a guard? Is he a 3? That whole system. I just think. Look, let's have the 15 best players. Those guys get all NBA. Let's vote on the 15 best players, regardless of position.
I'm all for that because when you do positions, like you said, there might be half the media that doesn't know if DeMar is a 2 guard or if he's a small forward, and that could mess his votes up.
Position thing's antiquated. It's antiquated. Yeah. So DeMar probably in traditional basketball is a 3 on that team. He functions as the primary playmaker. So in the traditional sense, he's the 1, right?
Exactly.
But how do we vote on that? Let's just vote on DeMar being all NBA because he's all NBA this year.
Exactly. I think that's how it should be.